Hey everybody, it's Fi. We're checking out Mr. Fishbones. This is a game I've not played before. We're going to give it a playtest, see if we can give some useful feedback. I've got the game page open here. This is Mr. Fishbones. Jump as the charming penguin Mr. Fishbones over icy water while collecting keys along the way in this short 3D platformer. How fast can you make it to the end of each world? 10 to 30 minutes of playtime with 13 diverse levels and increasing difficulty. Dimensions controls, WASD or arrow keys to move, space to jump, space while in the air to double jump, or escape to pause. This project started out as a simple coding experiment trying to simulate swimming platforms that react to a character jumping on them. Made in about a week during lockdown. Some feedback would make me very happy. Alright, so we're going to give some feedback. Sounds like it's a small game. Let's go ahead and get rid of that overlay. I've not seen anything past the screen. It's currently windowed. In case it looks a little blurry, I'm going to try... Alt-Enter didn't do anything, but it looks like it kind of started into the level here. Looks like it's hitching a little bit for some reason. So it doesn't look like we have a full screen, but I guess we'll just have to ignore that and play in this little window here. I will notice, I'll note that, as I'm sure anyone listening can tell, the music seems to be coming solely from the left channel here. Which is quite annoying, especially when you're wearing headphones. So I would get that centered. I'm not sure what happened there, if it's some kind of issue with the listener. I would set up... Oh. Okay, that was interesting. So, when I clicked on the settings button, I noticed the music, speak of the devil, it all of a sudden kind of shifted to the center and then back again, and it kind of corresponded to the camera moving, so I'm assuming that the music is tied to an object in the world, and that the listener is tied to the camera as it should be, and it's kind of positioning the background music based on the position in the world, that kind of thing. So that shouldn't happen. Of course, the music should kind of be omnipresent. It shouldn't shift around in the stereo field, so that would be a thing to fix. Let's see what's in here. We got Show High Score Ghost. That's interesting. That's cool. Graphic settings, screen space reflections. I don't see any reason not to switch that on just to see. Got AO, depth of field is on by default. Turn off these decorative game objects to improve performance on older computers. Let's leave that on for now. Hopefully it'll all run okay. This text is a little hard to read, but if this was in full screen, that would help. Interesting, we have a loading bar. Okay, so I tried Alt-Enter again. It's a little weird how it kind of went from the options screen into the tutorial. I don't think it was meant to jump from here to there like that. But it looks like we have a fish at the top, introduction. Alright, so we're doing another load screen. I'm not sure what's happening exactly. Alright, we went right into World 1. Now play this level to start your journey. Okay, so I'd like to go back to the tutorial again. I don't know if there's a way to navigate. It looks like I hit the up key. Oh, I went straight to World 2. Maybe I can go down? No, we went back to the tutorial. Okay, so I like how we have this kind of overworld thing. It's a nice little polished detail to see, but it's not really made clear how to interact with this, so it looks like it's the up and down input, and yeah, you can hear that the positioning of the music track shifting around a bit. So it looks like if you press down in the tutorial, it kind of resets this thing. So a couple things. For one, I'd make these transitions much faster, because when you're just interacting with an interface like this, the player doesn't want to wait around for these little visual details. So you can make this quite a bit faster. Also, I'd put some kind of highlight on whatever is selected currently. It's not terribly important in this case, because obviously you can just see what the name of the thing you're on right now is over here, but it might just be nice to have a visual indication. I mean, you can kind of guess it's probably, whatever is roughly in the center, one of these dots, but just be a little nicer to have that highlighted, I think. I'm gonna try this again, see if it works properly this time, I guess. So I think it's because I hit enter before or something, it kind of kicked me out. Or I clicked on this, I don't know. for now, it looks like I can rotate with W and D, which is really interesting for a platformer to have these kind of tank controls. Looks like I slip around on the platform a little bit, which I suppose could cause some kind of trouble, but we got our jump. That's a cute little flip. A little bit more gravity than I anticipate. Oh, it's quite slippy. So I imagine it would be quite... It could be quite problematic to have these slippery platforms combined with the tank controls, because you can't change direction instantly. You have to wait to turn, or you can change direction. So if you have to like suddenly compensate for sliding off one of these platforms, it's going to be difficult with this control scheme, I imagine. I suppose in some sense that does at least raise the difficulty level. I'm not sure if this will actually be challenging to complete or not, but that's just what occurs to me. And I can hear again that background music is kind of shifting around. Looks like we're a little slippery even on the rock here. Actually, this seems quite treacherous if we just try to stand still here. So clearly we're not playing for time. So it looks like the little jumping sound effect is also kind of in the left channel. Yeah, so it seems like you got a lot of sounds that are kind of tied to like the center of the game world or something to that effect. So you just want to just play those in their proper stereo or whatever, rather than tying them to the positional audio. Let me just press space again to progress. So that was, I mean, it's quite easy. This was... Alright, I think I have to click. So in this case, because it's keyboard controlled, I'd rather be able to use the keyboard controls to progress, rather than have to grab the mouse to continue here. Something flickered on the screen for a moment there, not sure what that was, but I guess we just hit enter for this. So for here we can hit enter key. That seems to work. Alright, so I guess this is supposed to be the first real level. I do notice that the so-called tutorial didn't really teach me anything. It was just like a simple level. It'd be nice to just have any amount of instruction. Looks like we have a little bit of air control. We can kind of turn in the air and stuff, which is nice. So the platforms are nice and big. We do have a double jump, so it's pretty generous. I think I might have missed something. There's a boat over there. I haven't paid attention. Okay, so at the top it's supposed to show, I think, the amount of fishbones there are to collect, right? So I guess if those... Alright, so they start out gray and then they light up, presumably. It's a really small thing, but you could make that a little more obvious, because if you go from like dark gray to light gray, it's not necessarily as obvious as if you know, you made these like a bright yellow or something, maybe even make them kind of flash ever so slightly, that kind of thing, so you can definitely tell there's something there. That can be nice. Oh, okay, so these little non-flat surfaces are even more slippery. So yeah, I think you could add a little more friction onto things here. It makes sense, of course, when you're on, in particular, the actual floating ice things, that they're a slippery surface. I mean, that makes intuitive sense, but less intuitive when it's the same when you're on rocks and stuff like this. So I'm assuming that there's no gamepad support, so interestingly I have to, I guess, jump to get this. So it's mildly annoying. I would just make the collider a little larger on the little fishbone thing, probably. That would be a good way to fix that. You could change the position of it slightly, but either way, I suppose. But yeah, gamepad support for a 3D platformer like this seems like a no-brainer. I haven't actually tried the gamepad. I could do that real quick here. It wasn't mentioned in the controls on the page, so I assumed it wouldn't do anything, but let's see. Alright, it's connected. Okay, it looks like jump is Looks like jump is bound to the A button on the Xbox controller, but nothing for movement. Alright, it's no big deal, I'll just turn that off. But yeah, that would be a good idea. Obviously, it's much more natural for most people to be able to just kind of go in the direction you press rather than this the tank controls where you have to rotate and then go forward and backwards. So I haven't had any kind of trouble or anything with it thus far with the, you know, good sized platforms and everything. Nothing. Oops! I accidentally hit the space bar too quickly there. Yeah, there's nothing really challenging for me at this point. But yeah, with 2 out of 3 fishbones, I missed one. Oh, I see, it's all the way back there. I have to go all the way back, which is not time efficient here. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I kind of looked off to the side for a moment. Whoa, yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, if you have a control scheme where you can just kind of press the direction you want to go in that direction, particularly, you know, with a thumbstick on a gamepad, it'd be a lot easier than with the keyboard input. But if you do have that kind of control scheme, it would make this easier, which also means that you could kind of make the levels harder to compensate, which could be more entertaining. Oh my gosh, I have to wait for it to count up the whole time. Or I can continue, I guess. I score by Steve. Oof. Alright, enter doesn't work here for whatever reason. So I guess I do have to click. Is that going to be the last one? I don't know. Oh, that was a world, so that was a set of levels. So that was World 1, so yeah, can't really say how hard it might get yet because we've only finished World 1, so we shall see. So we got a fishbone, but we've missed one somewhere. So in this case, it's hard to see. There's not really any camera control apart from just the simple rotation, so I can't actually see where another fishbone might be hiding at the moment. I believe it's what was supposed to be the first one based on the UI at the top here. Not really sure what to think of this. Okay, looks like I can't properly land on that surface and jump. Oh, okay, so there's definitely 2 fishbones here. Maybe one of them didn't register properly, so it looks like the one that was closest filled in the second slot. And then the second one also filled in the second slot, so this I assume is a little bit bugged in terms of at least the visual. I'm hoping that it'll still let me finish the level here. It will. Alright, 3 in this one. Looks like you can move relatively quick if you just kind of hold W. It works well enough. It's not like, you know, I'm talking about different control schemes and stuff, and it's not like this doesn't work. It seems to work just fine. Alright, yeah, so it's a bit funner if you actually, you know, attempt to do it quickly rather than rather slow and talking a lot, I guess. Moving fast is a fun thing. I guess we have to Okay, now the continue thing isn't here, it just says save for some reason. I guess, oh, it wants me to enter my name because I got the record, I guess. Beautiful lighthouse. Alright, we're just going for it, I guess. It kind of feels like piloting a car that can jump with the left and right steering. Might be nice if you could rotate the flag a bit to kind of face the position of the player, just in those cases where you can kind of get at an angle where you can't see the actual flag of it. You can kind of see the flagpole, but it's not as visible, obviously. It's a good tiny detail, but might be worth doing. And let's go back to get this one. Oof. Yeah, so the air control is quite forgiving. It feels pretty nice. Make little corrections while you're in the air, so keeps this from being a lot more frustrating than it could be without it. I can jump on this. Oh, okay, you can't jump off of that. So I noticed that, of course, with some of these other surfaces, like over here, where they're kind of at these sharp angles, where it kind of makes sense that you can't jump off of it because it's not horizontal. That last rock, even though it was, you know, the different color or whatever, it was basically horizontal, just like all these other things. So it definitely gives the impression that you should be able to jump off of that, no problem. So I would suggest either, you know, make it so you can jump off of that, or change the visual of it so it doesn't look like you can, you know. You just don't want to kind of communicate to the player something that's not really true and have them fail for it. Alright, yeah, so this part can take a little bit too long, especially I mean, I did it, it felt like doing it relatively quickly. I mean, I was kind of moving forward the whole time. So I don't necessarily want to sit through this, but also you can imagine if somebody had a lot of trouble on this or something and they had to go through it really slow, then they kind of get punished for it by having to sit for a long time waiting for this number to go up. So I think you could cut this down by quite a bit in terms of how long that takes. Looks like we're loading the next world. Alright, looks like we have a yacht of some kind, or just a boat. Go and play this challenging final level. Alright. Let's see if it's gives any more trouble than the other ones. We got a boat, which is interesting. The boat's still slippery, but it's cool, it looks different at least. A little bit of visual variation. Looks like maybe the little icebergs are a little further apart, but it's not any problem for me so far. This is a longer jump, but alright, I think that's the last one. So they do flash yellow for a moment at the top, which I believe I mentioned the colored yellow specifically, but I didn't even actually know that the flag was here. I guess it just kind of naturally ended up going here, which is not necessarily a bad sign, but yeah, I guess it kind of naturally led here. I just felt like I didn't really go there intentionally, but we made it there. But yeah, they do kind of go back to that light gray color again after they flash, so. More rafts. I like the little clownfish, they're pretty nice to look at. That was too far a jump. Oops, yeah, I gotta gauge this a little better. Oh, we can go back here. It looks like the flag's actually back there. Alright, looks like we can see where all of the fishbones are. Guess we'll go this way. Looks a little safer. Alright. It's a little sketchy to make little adjustments like this, but... Oh no. Oh gosh. Alright. That's unfortunate because we already made it that far and then we ended up failing. But such is the nature of these things. I assume this is, if not the last level, then one of them. Yeah, it's a little hard to judge some of these jumps. Sometimes, it's just been me being too hasty or whatever. Because, well, I guess every jump before now has been pretty easy, so it maybe makes you a little overconfident. There was a moment there where I kind of started to slip off the edge and then was able to jump afterwards, so it looked like there was a little bit of ledge forgiveness or coyote time, whatever you want to call it. I assume that was intentional, and that's quite nice. It feels good to have that kind of touch in here. A lot of people don't do that kind of thing, surprisingly. Well, it's not that surprising. I guess it's not, they don't teach you that in school, but feels really good. It's forgiving in the right way. Speaking of forgiving, the air control allowed me to abort that decision at the last moment and still survive that wonky jump. So yeah, those little details just making it more forgiving. That's the kind of thing that I think actually a lot of people are kind of too afraid of making things forgiving because they don't want their game to be easy or something, but you can avoid a lot of frustration with touches like that. It really helps a lot. So I guess I go to the right here. Oh yeah, that's no problem. Alright, we made it finally. Alright, level 3. Oh, we got the boat. The boat is not looking too well, though. I guess that's what all these rafts are for. They're all the emergency rafts here. It's kind of funny. Poor boat. Alright, where am I going? I'm just going wherever, I guess. I don't know which one of these platforms is closer to that one. Okay. Oh, there's another boat. This one's doing a little better. So there's another fish back there. I can see straight ahead. It looks like I might have gone the wrong way, though. I think this wants me to go up here. And that's the end. So unfortunately I can't really go back a short way here. I have to kind of go all the way back around because I didn't get all the fishies. That's something to consider with level design and stuff. You don't really... Well, you have to be careful if you make it too linear because, especially with this, the way that the progression is designed here, where you have to collect all of the things. Because if someone happens to miss one or more of them, and then they get all the way to the end all of a sudden and they don't have them, then they have to go all the way back. Let's not go that way, that was close. Alright, here's the other one. Alright, we have to go. Let's go back this way. Alright, this definitely puts the tension up because of how long I've been in the level already. And just knowing that one slip will make me have to start over, which makes it a lot easier to make a mistake. So I do like how you get on the boat briefly. That's a comfy sort of thing. Oh, there's a little ledge there. That's a little sketchy. A little lip that you get caught on the edge of the boat. It's pretty unexpected because you haven't encountered anything like that before. So that could be something that would screw someone up, and you don't want to screw someone up on something like that right at the end of a long level. And now I have to sit through this whole thing because it took like 3 times as long as it should have. Because I didn't get all the Fishbones properly, so just wait for this. Can I just click here? Oh, I can just click here. Okay. That's nice. Alright, I assume we finished it all. Obviously we weren't really playing for score here. But yeah, so interesting. In terms of, obviously there's some things that should probably be fixed here and there with the audio and other little bugs and things. But in terms of the actual gameplay itself, the design of it, obviously extremely simple, and that's, nothing wrong with that. It's a very simple game that was made in a short amount of time. The controls are something, these kind of tank controls, are something that I would expect would be off-putting to people just by the nature of what they are. But I have to say, like, actually, that and the lack of controller gamepad support, which, gamepad support's easy to add in. That's not going to change the design of the game or anything. But I actually found, playing with these controls actually worked a lot better than I would have really expected in terms of it just being. I think everything was just forgiving enough that it just worked out okay. So it was actually kind of fun with the tank controls, as it turned out, and the slipping around on the little iceberg chunk things, platforms that I was kind of worried about. I think actually kind of in a funny kind of way added a little bit to the experience, where it just felt a little bit out of control, so it kind of gave you something that you had to compensate for a little bit. But because of the fact that the other elements were forgiving enough, it didn't make it frustrating, because you could actually deal with it, even though, like I said, the controls are maybe not what I would consider something that would work well with that little bit of kind of random shifting around and stuff. But in spite of that, it ended up working out, so it actually, yeah, I think everything kind of worked out better than it should. Definitely some good choices in terms of how forgiving it was. So that helps it out a lot. So yeah, it's actually a pretty cool game. There's obviously not much depth to it. It's hard to also create challenge in a game that has very little depth. Unfortunately, if you start trying to make something like this harder, you know, to try to make it challenging to people who are experienced with games and stuff like that, you end up just likely making something that's quite frustrating instead. So without having more depth to the gameplay in terms of more gameplay elements in here, it's harder to do that without it being frustrating. You kind of need that to create more complexity that can still be fun if it's challenging and that kind of thing. So yeah, in my opinion, definitely better to make it too easy than to make it frustrating. So good choices there. But yeah, hopefully this was useful. I'm not sure if there's much else I can say. There's a couple little things that could definitely be fixed up. I didn't mention yet, but it is nice to have some of these extra details like the overworld and you know, some effort put into little transitions and stuff like that. It actually makes it look quite polished, which most people, when they make little games like this, they don't really put that extra effort into making these kinds of things, like a little overworld with visuals and stuff like that. And so that's kind of nice to see. It makes it feel more polished, even though it doesn't necessarily need to. But I guess these ended up not turning on, I guess because I didn't hit that button before. I'm actually going to try it again real quick to see if I notice any visual differences here. So there was AO and screen space reflections, I believe. But I don't notice anything so far. I don't think. Can I? Oh, okay. Escape key is pause. It would be nice to have an options menu in the pause menu here. It's pretty standard. It looks like this has gotten a little funky. Okay, it's gotten back here again with these transitions. They're a bit too slow though. Just out of curiosity, not sure how noticeable this is or isn't, but. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really notice any. I mean, maybe the penguin reflects off the water or something. I can't help but be curious. Either way, the graphics are kind of nice. You know, it's not that many assets, but they're fit together nicely with good colors and contrast and all that stuff. So. Apart from that, like one platform that was a little too flat that I thought I could jump on, there's nothing that's like visually misleading or hard to read or anything like that. So that's definitely a good thing. So yeah, I don't know where the reflections are supposed to show up, but yeah, so cool game. Hopefully you found this useful. A full screen mode would be nice, and I always recommend, you know, add an actual exclusive full screen mode and borderless windowed mode for full screen. So two different options. In my opinion, they're both very necessary. And also, you know, option to turn off VSync or on and off, that kind of thing. So this is interesting because at this point, we actually do go off of the white platforms, which I like. I like how that feels, you know, just to interact with different parts of the environment and that kind of thing. But it is interesting how in some cases the colors kind of suggest, you know, these are not part of the level, and then at this point, like, this actually is part of the level. So I guess the important thing is just to make sure that the shape of the surfaces are really selling it, whether or not you can jump on that part safely or not. Just make sure you're not misleading the player at any point. But I've talked about that kind of thing enough. Probably wrap this up. Definitely a neat little game, and hopefully you found this useful. And I'll see you in the next video.